These are the only 3 exercises you will ever need to do a past year review. If you're watching this, you're probably where I was in all the past years before this, because I always felt that ambition to start the new year on the right foot. And then I also felt secretly terrified that this is just gonna be a repeat of the last year. Because you know what's painful? It's January, you feel motivated, you write down goals, you promise yourself this year is gonna be different, and then life happens and you snap back to default. And it's not because you're broken, not because you're lazy, but because you skip the step that makes goal make sense. And most people start with goals. I'm doing it a bit differently because goals without truth and direction are just guesses. But we can't build a house on a swamp. We need to look at the raw data from the last 12 months first. The system I'm showing you today is designed as a first step to help you move out of that 92% of quitters into the 8% that actually change their lives. Hey there, I'm Alex, and this channel is a public journal for my obsession with evidence-based self-improvement. I do the work of digging through research and books to see what's actually worth doing. And I'm only a few steps ahead, so I'm documenting the whole process. I've spent the last few weeks examining systems and frameworks used by people like Tim Ferriss or James Clear, and I've refined them into a 90-minute blueprint that's designed specifically for procrastinators, overthinkers, and perfectionists like me. The first exercise I'm using is basically a memory refresher for the last 12 months. The second exercise is supposed to find my pressure point, and that's the one fix that's actually supposed to move the needle. And then the third one is actually designed to redefine who I'm going to be in the next 12 months. By the time I'm gonna be done with these exercises, I'm not just gonna have a plan, I'm gonna have a new redefined identity. The main point of these exercises is to change who I think I am. And by the way, I researched the fuck out of this, and I used all that information to also design a workbook for this session, and that's going to be completely free and linked in the description. Go ahead and download if you want to follow along, because I will be walking you through my own review, just so you have an example. But it would be great if you could just pause the video and go through the exercises yourself, because only through action you can change. Also inside the workbook, I've also included instructions on how you can use the AI of your choice like Gemini or ChatGPT or Grok as a sparring partner that can push back and help you find patterns you're maybe too close to see. Let's get to work. The first exercise is called the high signal audit. I'm starting here because you cannot optimize what you can't remember. Most of us live our lives in like a memory leak. This is called recency bias, and it might be one of the reasons your past New Year's resolutions failed. They were based on how you felt in the last weeks of December and not the reality of your entire year. The high signal audit exercise is the foundation because it replaces emotions with actual evidence. I've combined Tim Ferriss's past year review with a condensed version of the Wheel of Life, which I've narrowed down to 5 main pillars. Why just 5? Because of Hicks' law. The more categories you're trying to audit, the more overwhelmed you're gonna get, and you're gonna close the laptop. So here's the 5 pillars that we're gonna work with. Number 1, the health. It's your engine. If this fails, nothing else matters. Number 2, wealth. That's your fuel, the resources that allow you to grow. Number 3, relationships. That's your tribe, the people who either charge you or drain you. Number 4, growth. That's your software, the skills and mental models you acquired. And number 5, your oxygen, the moments that made life worth living. Now, this is the part where you'll want to procrastinate. You think you're gonna need a whole weekend to do this. So we're using Parkinson's law, which says work expands to fill the time available. That means we have a 45 minutes cap, no more. Now, a warning, do not touch the AI just yet. If you're trying to use it before you do this manual audit, it's gonna give you generic garbage. The AI is supposed to be your sparring partner, not your ghostwriter. Do the 45 minutes of manual labor first. Don't be a bitch. For step 1, we're gonna open the calendar app and our camera photo roll, starting with January 1st last year. And if you really wanna go hardcore on this forensic stuff, you're gonna open your banks app and go to your transaction history. In step 2, we're gonna scan month by month. We are looking for high signal moments, the moments that stood out to you, be it negative or positive. And step 3 is really simple. For each pillar, you're only allowed to write 3 peaks, which are positives, and 3 pits, which are negatives. That's a total of 30 items. So if you had 10 great moments in adventure, you're only allowed to pick the top 3. That's using the rule of 3, which is a constraint on this one. It forces you to ignore the trivial many and identify the vital few. So you aren't just remembering your past year, you're curating evidence of what actually stood out. Now stop the video, do the work, timer starts now, and then come back so we can compare notes. By the time your 45-minute timer hits 0, you need to have this filled in, just like I did. Are you done? Let's see how exercise 1 looks for me. So once again, I'm gonna focus on 3 peaks and 3 pits for each department. In health, I managed to stay consistent in the gym and also quit a 5-year Xanax dependency, but then again I had a few emotional breakdowns because of my weight loss journey. For work, because I enjoy what I do, I'm always trying to develop new skills as well. But at the opposite end, I feel like I also lost a lot of time on YouTube consuming educational content as a form of procrastination. For relationships, I feel like there's always ups and downs, but right now I feel quite blessed with the people I have in my life and the support that I get from them, although I might want to consider ending some of the toxic relationships that I'm still in. Then when it comes to growth, I am learning and reading a lot lately, but it's like I said earlier, I do need to manage consumption. And last but definitely not least, when it comes to adventure, I did have some noteworthy moments when I managed to disconnect. Though I did notice that that's only happening when I'm in the holiday mood. So there you go, that's exercise 1 for me. Honestly, if you stop here, this is a great exercise on its own because it kind of gives you an idea of what you would or wouldn't want to do or focus on moving forward. But think of this exercise as a map, and the map is useless if you don't know which road to take. And now that we have the data, we need to find your pressure point. And that's the one thing that's gonna make you more efficient moving forward. I felt overwhelmed by my goals so many times, and that's because I was kind of trying to fight a war on 10 different fronts. Most people look at their list of failures and try to fix all of them. That's a mistake. I was one of them too. That's essentially just a fast way to burn out and eventually quitting. So I'm doing this exercise as the second one because exercise number 1 gave me the raw data, but data without a filter, it's just noise. And I'm not looking for everything that went wrong. I'm just looking for my pressure point. And that's the one system that makes everything feel much easier to do. I am gonna lean on the Pareto principle. In 1896, Vilfredo Pareto discovered that 80% of the land in Italy was owned by 20% of its population. That's been the basis of the Pareto principle, which states that 20% of your actions or habits are responsible for 80% of your results. And later, Joseph Juran also expanded this to management, calling it the law of the vital few. I'm here to find that 20%, that vital few, and in order to do so, I'm going to be using a design thinking method called Rose, Thorn, and Bud. I'm going to start by looking at the 30 entries in exercise 1, and we're looking for patterns, not events. Here's how to define these. For the rows, you need to identify one person, habit, or environment that appears most often in your peaks. If you had to let go of every single habit except for one in your peaks, which one would you choose? That's your superpower, and that's what gives you energy. For me, that's gonna be hardened, discipline, and momentum. Because in the past year, I did manage to put in 220 gym sessions and quit a 5-year chemical dependency. Now for the thorn, you have to identify the one single point of failure. Look at your pits. Is there a common thread? Find it, and then use the 5 whys method to find the root cause there. And that's what gives me the root cause: loss aversion, ego protection. So then my thorn is using consumption as an ego shield to avoid being vulnerable. And finally, we have the bud, the opportunity. This is your asset. And you need to answer, what is your smallest, lowest friction change that you can make to kill that thorn? To take my example, if my thorn is consumption as an ego shield, then my bud is gonna be rapid skill application, which essentially translates to don't overthink, just take the first step and move. And talking about movement and action, stop this video and go find your patterns. You have 30 minutes. Go. Hey, you're back. You did it. Right? Right? Now that you found your rose, thorn, and bud, you need a specific tactical move that sets everything in motion. That's your pressure point. The formula to find it is this: use the bud to kill the thorn and protect the rose. Without your pressure point, your bud stays dormant. So my pressure point is production over consumption in a specific time window. And this specificity is supposed to ignite my bud every single day. And now you bring in the AI again. Use the exercise 2 prompt to spar with your data. Because if you're gonna tell the AI that your problem is laziness and you're working 14-hour days, it's gonna call you on your bullshit. When you focus on your pressure point, you stop pushing against the world and let the gravity do the work for you. You just found a shortcut to easy mode. But this strategy is only going to be a list of things you're gonna ignore unless you believe you are the person that's gonna do them. You know the move. Now, let's make sure you're gonna actually take action. We're gonna use exercise 3 to upgrade your identity. We end up here because this is where those 92% of people fall off the map. They have the data, they know the problem, but they're trying to change the results without changing themselves. They rely on willpower, but willpower is actually kind of like a battery. You're gonna run out sooner rather than later. This exercise is the last one because it's meant to be actually installing the software update. So you're not just setting goals, you're actually leveraging cognitive dissonance. That's essentially a psychological phenomenon where your brain experiences intense physical and mental discomfort when your actions don't align with who you say you are. We're gonna use that discomfort to make your discipline a part of who you are. This exercise is actually built on James Clear's research into habit formation. Most people focus on what they want to achieve, the outcomes, while elite players actually focus on who they want to become, their identity. And according to the self-perception theory, you don't just do things because of who you are, you become who you are because of the things that you do. Every action you take is a vote for your future self. You have 15 minutes for this last exercise, and we're supposed to start with next year's theme, and that's a single word that's gonna be acting as your North Star. And now looking back, if your rose was consistent deep work, your theme might be focus. If your rose was daily movement, then your theme might be vitality. This word acts as a filter for every single decision you're gonna make in the next year. In my case, I've translated hardened discipline and momentum into capability. So the rose acted as evidence for the person that I wanna be. And now in step 2, you're gonna write 2 identity statements. These are 2 I am statements, and they are not wishes, they are definitions. Statement 1, the shield is basically defensive and it's meant to protect you from your thorn. Statement 2, the sword is meant to be offensive and it doubles down on your rose. By defining yourself this way, you're telling your brain this is the new standard. When you skip a day, you aren't just missing your goal, you're breaking your new identity. But the cognitive dissonance that you're building in the process is what's gonna pull you back while everyone else is just quitting. Remember, you need to act like the person you want to become. Be your future self. So the outcome of this final 15 minutes is a new character. You're not just trying to be productive, you are productive. You aren't just trying to be healthy, you are the person that goes to the gym, eats healthy, and puts in those 10,000 steps a day. So good job there. You actually engineered the new version of yourself. But now that you have this, what's next? Well, you're obviously gonna go look for a sticky note and then use your pen to write your theme and your sword. My superpower capability for me. And then you're gonna write down your sword. Then you're gonna take this sticky note and put it on your screen right here. I'm gonna leave it that way. I wrote on the sticky side. It's because research actually shows that this helps a lot through a process called deep encoding. When you're actually writing things down, you're using your motor skills, spatial awareness, and tactile feedback. You are quite literally carving a deeper neural pathway. Plus, seeing that piece of paper every single day will act as a constant reminder of who the new you is. That piece of paper is going to force me into my new creator identity. But look, I'm no professional YouTuber, even though I put a shit ton of work into this video. The reality is that integrity can and will look messy, awkward, and honestly, pretty cringe. And if you don't believe me, click here to watch the first video I made just 1 week ago and see if you can laugh at me more than I did. Because